Have you ever noticed that you're thinking about yourself, right at this very moment? There's something in you observing you, reading these words, judging, analyzing, feeling. You are simultaneously the river that flows and the shore that witnesses the flow. This contradiction isn't a mistake of nature. It is your nature. Most people live their entire lives without ever noticing this fundamental duplicity. They are the river, yes, running frantically toward the ocean, dragged by the current of days, commitments, expectations. But they never stop to notice that there's someone inside them watching all of this. There's a silent consciousness that never sleeps, never ages, never changes. It was there when you were 5 years old and remains exactly the same now. Your thoughts have changed. Your body has changed, your beliefs have transformed, but this witness has remained motionless, like a camera that records without ever appearing in the film. The ancient Hindus called this Sakshi, the eternal observer. Buddhists speak of the empty space between thoughts, that silence that perceives the noise. Carl Jung called it the self, the totality that embraces both the persona and the shadow. But regardless of the name, the experience is universal and profoundly disturbing when you finally recognize it. Because if there's something in you that observes your thoughts, then you cannot be your thoughts. If there's something that witnesses your emotions, you cannot be your emotions. And if you are neither your thoughts nor your emotions, then who the hell are you? This is where most people feel the ground disappear beneath their feet. We spend our entire lives building a solid identity. I am John, I am an engineer, I am anxious, I am American, I am the one who likes coffee and hates waking up early. We collect these labels as if they were anchors, preventing us from floating into nothingness. But then comes this devastating realization. All these things are just content passing through the river. You are the river. And even more disturbing, you are also what's on the shore watching the river pass. Think about the last time you caught yourself lost in thought. You were driving or taking a shower and suddenly realized you'd spent the last 5 minutes completely immersed in a fantasy, a worry, a memory. And then came that strange moment. You realized you were lost. Who realized it? If you were completely identified with the thought, who was it that woke up and said, "Hey, you were drifting"? There were 2 instances of you operating simultaneously. The river flowing unconsciously and the observer noticing the flow. Most people experience this only in flashes, but imagine if you could strengthen this witnessing consciousness. Imagine if, instead of being dragged by the current of your thoughts and emotions, you could simultaneously be inside them and above them. This isn't escapism or dissociation, it's integration. It's becoming whole by recognizing your 2 fundamental natures. But before we get there, we need to understand why this is so difficult for most of us. Modern society does everything to keep us identified only with the river. You're constantly bombarded with messages that reinforce the idea that you are your achievements, your possessions, your social status, your successes and failures. Capitalism needs you to believe you're a consumer, that your identity can be bought and sold. Politics needs you to believe you're your opinions, your teams, your enemies. Social media needs you to believe you're your carefully curated image. Everything conspires to keep you hypnotized by the current, completely identified with the passing content, forgotten that there exists a continent, a vast and empty space inside you that has never been touched by any of these things. And there's more. You've been trained since childhood to fear this empty space. When you were little and felt bored, someone quickly gave you something to do, something to fill the void. In school, they taught you to measure your worth by your productivity, by the amount of knowledge you can accumulate. In adult life, you fill every second with stimuli, social media, series, news, music, incessant work. Why? Because deep down, there's a silent terror that if you stop, if you really look inside, you'll find the void. And you've been taught that void is bad, void is loneliness, void is failure. But here's the liberating truth that few have the courage to accept. The void isn't empty. This space between your thoughts, this witnessing consciousness that observes the river, isn't a cold and dead nothing. It's the opposite. It's the source of everything. It's where creativity is born. It's where genuine peace resides. It's the only place where you can truly rest, because it's the only place that demands nothing from you. The river always asks you to be something, do something, prove something. But the shore, the witness, simply observes with complete acceptance. If this is already starting to make sense to you, if something inside is recognizing this truth, then you need to hear what comes next. Because we're about to explore not just how to recognize this dual nature, but how to live from it. And if you want to follow this journey of transformation, subscribe to the channel now, because what we're going to discover together can fundamentally change the way you experience every moment of your life. So how do you begin to cultivate this consciousness of being both the river and the shore simultaneously? The answer lies in a practice that all spiritual traditions know, but that modern culture has deliberately forgotten: the art of witnessing. I'm not talking about formal meditation, although it helps. I'm talking about developing the capacity to, in the middle of your daily life, take a small step back and notice, I'm anxious now. I can feel the anxiety flowing through me. Notice the subtle difference. Not I am anxious, but I am experiencing anxiety. You become again the river that observes its own flow. Modern neuroscience is finally beginning to understand what mystics have always known. There's a part of your brain, the medial prefrontal cortex, that activates when you think about yourself. And there's another part, the posterior cingulate cortex, that activates when you observe your own mental processes. When you practice witnessing, you're literally strengthening neural circuits that allow you to be both the actor and the director of your own life. You're not repressing emotions or denying thoughts. You're creating space around them. Imagine that your thoughts and emotions are like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes stormy. When you're completely identified with the river, you are the weather. When it rains, you are absolute sadness. When it thunders, you are pure rage. But when you develop the witnessing consciousness, you become the sky. The weather still happens, clouds still pass, but you are the vast and unchanging space where all of this occurs. The storms don't destroy you, because you are larger than them. You contain them. Here's a radical experiment you can do right now. Stop for a second and notice your breathing. Don't change anything. Just observe the air coming in and going out. Now, notice who is observing. There's a you that is aware of the breath, but wait, there's also a you that is aware of being aware. It's like mirrors reflecting mirrors infinitely. On which layer is the real you? The disturbing answer is on all of them and on none. You are the entire process. You are the very capacity to be conscious. This may sound too abstract, so let me bring this to practical reality. Think about the last time you had a heated argument with someone. In the heat of the moment, you were completely immersed. Words were coming out of your mouth, your heart was racing, you were right and the other person was wrong. You were the river in total turmoil. But then, hours later, when you revisit the memory, you can see the situation from outside. You can perceive your exaggerated reactions, understand the other person's point of view, maybe even laugh at the disproportionate intensity. What changed? The facts remain the same, but now you're observing the river instead of being dragged by it. The practice of witnessing allows you to do this in real time. Imagine having access to this retrospective wisdom at the moment things are happening. Imagine being in the middle of anxiety, but there's a part of you that is calmly observing and saying, interesting, the body is releasing cortisol, the heart is accelerating, catastrophic thoughts are emerging. That small distance, that millimeter of space between you and your experience, is where all freedom lives. But there's an even deeper secret that few know, and this is where everything connects in a way that can change everything for you. The secret is this: the river never stops flowing, and that's okay. You're never going to reach a state where there are no more thoughts, where there are no more difficult emotions, where you've completely transcended the human experience. This is the great deception that many spiritual traditions sell. They promise that if you meditate enough, if you enlighten yourself enough, the river will stop and you'll finally be at peace. Lie. And it's a dangerous lie because it places peace always in the future, always conditioned on you becoming someone different from who you are now. The true revelation is this: you don't need to stop the river to be free. You're already free. Freedom isn't in transcending the river. It's in recognizing that you were never just the river. You've always also been the shore, the witness, the empty space where everything happens. Heraclitus said over 2,000 years ago, "No one can step into the same river twice, because the river is no longer the same, nor is the person the same." He was describing the fundamental nature of reality. Everything is in constant flux. Nothing is permanent. Everything is always becoming something else. But here's the part he didn't say explicitly, though it was implicit. To perceive that you never step into the same river twice, you need to be observing from outside the river. You need to be the consciousness that perceives change, not just the change itself. And here's the final paradox, the truth that will fry your head, but also completely liberate you. You are neither the river nor the shore. You are the totality. You are the entire system. The separation between observer and observed is, ultimately, a useful illusion, a conceptual tool that helps you gain perspective. But at the deepest level, there aren't two. There never were. The flowing river and the consciousness that observes are one single thing expressed in two modes. This means that when you witness your anxiety, it's not that there's a pure and clean eye observing a dirty and problematic emotion. The witness itself is made of the same substance as the anxiety. It's all consciousness playing hide and seek with itself. And when you truly understand this, when you live this, something extraordinary happens. Judgment disappears. You stop trying to get rid of parts of yourself. You stop dividing your experience into good and bad. You simply allow yourself to be what you are, an infinitely complex river that possesses the magical capacity to observe its own flow. So here's the final message, the truth I want you to carry with you. You don't need to become the river that watches itself. You already are. You always have been. The only difference is that now you know, and knowledge, in this case, is literally power. It's the power to live with less resistance, less unnecessary suffering, less identification with the temporary. It's the power to experience the totality of human life, with all its mess and beauty, without being destroyed by it. The next time you feel lost, anxious, trapped in obsessive thoughts, remember, you are the river that observes its own flow. Let the river do what rivers do. Observe from the shore, and then realize that you are both and neither and everything. This is your true nature, vast, mysterious, indestructible. If this message touched something deep in you, like this video now, leave a comment sharing which part resonated most. Subscribe to the channel because we'll continue exploring these truths that transform lives. And most importantly, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because in a world that constantly pushes us toward forgetfulness, remembering who we truly are is the most revolutionary act possible. You are the river. You are the shore. You are the eternal consciousness that dances through both. Never forget this.